A call came in from an unknown phone number. Who could it be? Hello? No, hello. It's your son, Kevin. Look, it's fine that you divorced Dad, but you gotta step up and take responsibility as a mom. I mean, I'm already in high school, so I can keep getting dragged into your drama forever, you know. Huh? What are you talking about? Why are you calling me? As I started to say that, Kevin's voice grew harsh. I'm telling you, you need to pay up my child support and school fees, and you need to do it soon. It's all because of your cheating, and yet you're trying to mooch off Dad for money. You're out of your mind. His words angered me, and I replied to Kevin, "Who is this? I never gave birth to any children." Huh? Are you crazy or something? Or are you trying to avoid paying because you don't want to? Don't play games with me. Kevin probably thinks I'm joking. But surprisingly, I'm being serious. As I said earlier, Kevin isn't my biological son. About 14 years ago from now, I was married to my ex-husband for about 3 years at the time. Our relationship hadn't changed much until then, and I thought we got along relatively well. We often went out together on our days off. After all, my ex-husband was busy with work, and he was often away on business for about half of the month. I had heard that his sales job involved a lot of business trips even before we got married, so I didn't feel too uneasy about it. But the only thing that seemed strange to me was regarding children. Before we got married, I liked children and talked about wanting to have one soon. Of course, we both had our own plans. Even if I felt it was the right thing to do, it wouldn't work if he didn't feel the same. So I was patient and didn't rush things, but after 3 years of marriage, my ex-husband never mentioned anything about having children. Feeling strange after 3 years had passed, I brought it up. About having a child, what do you think about it now? 3 years have passed, and if we keep waiting, the risks of childbirth will only increase as we get older. No, yay. But I'm busy with work right now. When will you not be busy? Huh? You've been saying that all this time, and it's gotten us nowhere. It can't be helped to find busy with work. If you keep saying that, it'll start to sound suspicious whether you're really working or not. WH, what do you mean by that? I haven't done anything wrong. Huh? This exchange felt a bit strange. I didn't think my ex-husband was cheating. I just meant that if things continued like this, it would be inevitable to suspect cheating, but for some reason, my ex-husband seemed flustered. He's hiding something. With that in mind, I decided to investigate my ex-husband. And I found out the truth about his words and actions, his attitude when I questioned him back then, and what he was actually doing during his business trips. To call it cheating would be too lenient. My husband was leading a double life. Half the month with me, and the other half with another family. But what shocked me the most was that the other family had a child. That child turned out to be Kevin. You called me just now. Kevin was about 2 years old at the time, still too young to understand. It's fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. But someone is bound to get hurt, so I decided to talk to the other woman later. She seemed to have heard about me from my ex-husband, as she gave me a slight nod when she saw me. When we first met, I didn't get the impression that she was particularly friendly. Amidst the tension, we quickly got down to business. I talked about everything that concerned me, such as whether it was okay to leave things as they were with my ex-husband leading a double life, and whose child Kevin really was. But she didn't bat an eyelid and answered calmly, without a hint of remorse. And then, she confidently declared that she was Kevin's mother. Although my ex-husband seemed to be keeping it a secret, she didn't seem to be hiding anything at all as she answered, so I ended up feeling a bit pushed down. Finally, I asked her what she planned to do from now on. I'm not going to do anything. I have no intention of changing anything in my life now, and I'm fine with that. But I don't think he's going to have any more children. Why is that? When I told him about my pregnancy with Kevin, he didn't seem particularly thrilled. He said it would have been better if the timing had been different. So I just happened to get pregnant. Otherwise, I don't think he would have wanted to have a child. But he told me he liked children. Doesn't that mean he didn't want to have a child with you? She smiled slightly and said, "That's strange, isn't it? If that were the case, why did I, who didn't want a child that much, give birth, while you, who wanted a child, didn't even get pregnant?" Can he really say he likes children? Well, I'm sure he said he liked children, but actually it was a lie, right? Maybe he thought saying that he liked children would make him more attractive in your eyes. Maybe he just used it as an excuse to flirt with you. I wanted to retort, but I couldn't. I felt like she had hit the nail on the head for some reason. And it seemed like my ex-husband was really thinking about children, despite not actually wanting any. Given all that, I ended up thinking that what the other woman was saying was right. All I could do was claim damages at most. She showed a relaxed expression, making me feel even more miserable about myself. A few days later, I filled out divorce papers and handed them to my husband, informing him that I would also be seeking damages. He probably heard about me from the other woman. My husband accepted the divorce papers and the damages without asking me any questions. In the end, what was the point of this man marrying me? There was only one thing that bothered me in the end. On the day I packed up and left, I asked my ex-husband why he married me. I wonder why. I'm not really sure either. I really wonder why we got married, too. If we didn't even know why we got married, we shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. Yeah, that's true. If we hadn't, you wouldn't have had to have a divorce on your record. But oh well. You chose to marry me because you liked me, right? Then we can just think of it as both of us making a wrong choice in life. Let's move on to a better life from now on. Thanks for everything up until now. Same to you. I'll pray that I don't choose someone like you in my next life. And so, we got divorced. After that, I became single and, with a fresh start in mind, changed jobs and moved to a different state. I think approaching everything with a new mindset was a very good experience for me. My ex-husband occasionally contacted me about paperwork, but we never discussed each other's current situations. Maybe he wasn't interested. He had his life, and I had my new life. But about 10 years passed without keeping in touch. I received an unexpected call from Kevin. I wondered what it could be about, but it turned out he was asking for child support and school fees. Kevin is the child born from my ex-husband's affair. Naturally, I have no obligation to pay. I tried to tell him that, but he wouldn't listen at all. Don't you feel ashamed as a mother? If that's the case, then don't have any children. It was getting on my nerves to be told the same thing over and over again. But if I got angry, he probably wouldn't listen to anything else. So I had no choice but to wait for him to calm down a bit. A few minutes later, I was finally able to broach the subject. Can I talk for a moment? There are a few things I'd like to confirm. How did you manage to get my number? It's obvious. I got it from Dad. Our family hasn't been so well off lately, and it seemed weird. Eventually, we couldn't afford it anymore. Tuition and all that. Thanks to that, I had to start working part-time. Dad said it was all your fault, so I heard various things about you, Mom. That you cheated on Dad and left him without paying anything as you had promised. Until then, I hadn't asked much about the divorce, but I finally understood everything. It was all your fault. I see. I finally understood why he was so angry. If this is true, any kid would be mad. But my ex-husband lied to Kevin, and unbelievably, he instigated Kevin. When I heard this, anger surged within me. It's a nuisance for him to come back in my life now, especially since we've already divorced. But Kevin, being deceived like this, is also pitiful. From my perspective, he's just a stranger, but I couldn't just leave him alone, saying it's not my concern. I remarried after that and now have children with my current husband. So, as a parent with children, I thought I should do the bare minimum. First, I decided to tell him the truth. He's 16 now, so it should be fine to discuss adult matters. Kevin, everything I'm about to tell you is the truth. If you want proof, I'll do a DNA test or anything else you need. Can you listen to what I have to tell you for now? Yay. I told Kevin that we're not biologically related and that I divorced his father over 10 years ago. At first, Kevin was hesitant to believe what he heard, but as I disclosed one fact after another, he gradually began to show signs of agitation. If what you're saying is true, why did Dad have me make this call? Kevin, earlier you mentioned you were working part-time, right? What are you doing with that money? Dad's holding on to it for me. High school isn't mandatory anymore, and I thought if my dad was in trouble, I should help. Plus, I don't really need a lot of money. You're such a good kid. But haven't you ever thought about it? If you have that money, why can't you pay for your tuition and expenses? Well, you know, the payment for my phone bill is sometimes late. I think he probably doesn't have enough money. Is your dad currently working? He's working. He goes to the company and everything. I see. I have a bad feeling about this. Could it be that my ex-husband is getting his hands on Kevin's money? With that thought in mind, I decided to investigate my ex-husband once more. Kevin, can you give me about 3 weeks? Yeah, that's fine. And please, keep what I told you on the phone a secret from your dad. Okay. Got it. And so, I decided to investigate my ex-husband's background. I hired a private investigator and awaited the results. Normally, going this far would be overly kind. But everything is for Kevin's sake. I don't need to go this far for someone else. Even if they say I'm crazy, I don't care. Would I abandon a child who looks like he's about to collapse right in front of me? My answer is no. I don't want to become that kind of person. And above all, I despise my ex-husband for lying to that child. Filled with anger towards my ex-husband, I waited for the investigation report from the private investigator for 3 weeks. When the results came in, I was shocked. At the same time, anger welled up inside me. Turns out, my ex-husband is currently not a full-time employee but a temporary worker. And recently, he got laid off, so now he's on leave. He's supposedly going to the unemployment office, but he doesn't seem motivated, idling away the hours drinking or playing cards. Kevin thought his dad was working because he wore a suit, but in reality, he's just looking for a job. And there's no sign of him actually looking for work. But what's despicable about my ex-husband is how he immediately acts apologetic in front of his child. So Kevin, seeing his dad like that, feels sorry for him and hands over all his part-time job earnings. However, in reality, that money was just spent on my ex-husband's gambling and drinking. There's no way I can let that slide. First, I need to do something about Kevin's situation. With that in mind, I called my ex-mother-in-law. It was lucky that I hadn't deleted her number from my phone book. Hello. Oh, Ava. What's wrong? It's been a while. Long time no see. I have something I want to talk to you about. Is now a good time? I explained the current situation to my mother-in-law. Why I called my ex-mother-in-law? For my ex-husband, his mother, and his aunt were his arch enemies. During our marriage, I didn't visit my in-laws' house often because of that. After the divorce, we hadn't been in touch at all, but apparently my mother-in-law had heard about my divorce and understood that I had other things that I wanted to do, so she wasn't angry at all. I see. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything because I thought it would be better to hear it from him, but he was cheating. As I heard that, my mother-in-law's tone dropped. And when I told her all the facts, my mother-in-law let out an angry cry over the phone. I see. It all makes sense now. I was not informed about the birth because he had a child with his affair partner. He brought Kevin over, but I was told not to contact you because you didn't want to see anyone right after giving birth. After giving birth, some people experience mental instability, and some even suffer from mental illness. So I quietly left you alone. And when I heard the reason for the divorce, I felt sorry, but I couldn't contact you. Is that so? But now, Kevin occasionally comes to visit, and it makes me happy. Even if he might be the child born out of an affair, he's not at fault, so I intend to support him as his ally in the future. As expected of you. I feel relieved. Actually, I called you to ask a favor about Kevin. Could you and Father raise Kevin together? Of course. Kevin worked so hard to earn money from his part-time job for it to be used on gambling. I think I need to have a serious talk with him about that. I'll leave that to you. But I think Kevin is desperately wasting his future trying to support his father. So please, let him live without restraints with you and his grandfather. My mother-in-law assured me that she would take care of Kevin, and thus Kevin's situation was resolved. Now, it's my ex-husband's turn. I decided to contact him and meet him later. I was angry because he had lied to me. When I arrived at the cafe at the appointed time and saw my ex-husband, he looked shabby compared to before. It's rare for you to contact me. And damn, you look older. Anyway, what about Kevin? So you already know. Then let's get straight to the point. Why did you get Kevin to call me? What's your intention? I just got desperate. I've been really short on cash lately. I also got caught for fraud at my previous job and had to quit. Kevin's mother suddenly disappeared, and many things are disappearing from my sight. But my mom and Kevin still think I'm going to work. It's easy to fool them as long as I look sorry. Kevin is your son, isn't he? Don't you feel anything about that? He's a good son who gives me money. You won't find a more filial son than him. Oh, I see. But I feel relieved, since you said those things in front of them. Huh. 3 people stood up from the table behind me and came over to our table. Ha. What's going on? You're really the worst. We heard everything just now. Even at your age, your hopeless personality hasn't changed. It's all over for you. It was my mother-in-law, my aunt-in-law, and Kevin. To convince everyone, it was necessary for them to see his true nature with their own eyes. My ex-husband started to get noticeably flustered and couldn't find the right words. Being reproached by everyone, my ex-husband kept glancing at me, seeming to seek help. But even if you make that face, it won't work. Accept everything you've done and realize what a hopeless scumbag you've been. Ick. And so, this incident came to a close. Since then, my ex-husband has been criticized by my mother-in-law, aunt-in-law, and then father-in-law. He was forced to go to work. He got a job at a construction site through my FIL's connections. My Phil said he sent him off to whip him back into shape. And then, my Phil also instructed the company to deduct child support from his salary as child support. That money is now going into covering Kevin's tuition fees and other school expenses. Since then, Kevin has been living with his grandma. I'm completely fed up with my ex-husband, but apparently, he's been treating my Mill and Phil kindly now. Kevin always seems like such a kind child, no matter what. I'm still not sure if the actions I took this time were the right ones. But things have definitely improved from before. I sincerely wish for Kevin to be happy. As my Mill said, the child born into this world bears no guilt. Why so secretive? I can't believe you kept this place from us. During a cheerful dinner party, unexpected guests arrived. Well, to be more precise, the 2 people I least wanted to see. My daughter Zoe and I were taken aback. Did you invite them? I asked. I didn't, at least, I don't think so, Zoe replied. Zoe left the table and approached the host. Did you invite them? She asked. No, I certainly did not. The host responded. Well, waiter, add 2 more seats for us. Oh, and I'll cover the cost for 4 people, just to be generous. The uninvited pair grinned. My name is Brooklyn. I'm 60 years old. Today, my 22-year-old daughter, Zoe, is about to study abroad, and her college buddies organized this farewell party for her. Everyone fought, let's choose a top-notch venue for Zoe's future, and they rented out a fancy restaurant in a high-end hotel. However, my sister-in-law and her husband crashed the party. It wasn't hard to guess how they knew about this event. The organizer was their son, Isaac, but there's no way he would invite them. After all, the attendees were mostly college students. The only reason I was invited was that Zoe told everyone, it's a farewell party, but I want my mom, who raised me by herself, to be there. I was told I'd be the only adult there. Sure enough, when Zoe checked with Isaac, he confirmed he hadn't invited them. Oh, just sit across from Zoe and Brooklyn. Let the young folks stick together, they said, pushing aside a young couple who had been sitting opposite us. Even though it's a fancy hotel, there's a buffet because of the large number of guests. Well, as you might have guessed, our son Isaac was involved in the preparations. That's how we found out about this. It's a bit rude not to invite us, don't you think? My sister-in-law said with a smirk. Well, it's a gathering for college students. But Brooklyn was invited, right? My sister-in-law interrupted Zoe. Continuing, my Sil said, you should have consulted us. Sure, it's about Zoe, but it must be hard for Brooklyn to afford coming to a place like this, right? I'm sorry, Brooklyn, it must be tough, especially with Isaac booking such a fancy restaurant. My brother-in-law chimed in. Yay, as family, we should help out relatives who are struggling. Saying that, he took out 10 $100 bills from his wallet, and then scattered them across the table. The paper bills, worth $1,000 in total, fluttered and scattered across the table. "Pick it up, you broke duo." Mysil laughed boisterously. Her loud laughter seemed to have caught the attention of the college students at the party. The atmosphere gradually became tense. Amidst this, the mocking voice continued, unaware of the awkward atmosphere. "Honestly, when I look at you two, you don't seem like mother and daughter at all. Delayed childbearing. It's almost like you're a grandma with her grandchild." "Poor Zoe, I really pity her," Mysil remarked. "After my brother-in-law passed away, Brooklyn closed his real estate business, and she hasn't left the house since. She probably aged more because of that. It's sad for Zoe. At this rate, she'll be caring for her elderly mother soon. Though, how about after she graduates, I'll take Zoe as my second wife. Being single for so long can really wear a woman down. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Stop it. I have 3 kids, but Brooklyn had her only daughter at such an old age, right? A child with those genes will definitely be unpredictable." Mysil gestured dismissively, pointing out the $1,000 she had scattered. "Come on, pick it up already. Really pitiful, isn't it, having an unemployed, elderly mother? I feel bad for Zoe. Are you planning to run away to another country, Zoe? I'd understand. Here, take this as a going-away present," Mysil taunted. The room was completely silent. Zoe was visibly shaken. Seeming to enjoy the attention, Mysil pushed further. "Why aren't you picking it up, though? Is it not enough money? You need more, right, to support your unemployed mother, including the care she'll need." Mysil then threw 5 more $100 bills, but this time, they landed on the floor. "Aren't you going to pick it up?" Zoe stood up, perhaps thinking that if she didn't, things wouldn't end well. The surrounding folks, mostly college students, were silent too. Then, unexpectedly, "Thank you, Auntie." Splash. "The." Mysil screamed. "As a token of my gratitude. Drink up, it's a fine Lafite Rothschild wine." The red liquid covered Mysil's face and drenched her dress. Zoe had splashed her glass of wine onto her. The entire room gasped. "Oh, what have you done? This dress was XP. You shouldn't fret over the cleaning bill, especially being so wealthy." Zoe cut her off, smirking. "You didn't think I'd fight back? Or are you thinking of suing me for spilling wine on you? If so, I'll counter-sue for the verbal abuse you've subjected me to." Zoe tapped on her nearby phone, playing back. "How about after she graduates, I'll take Zoe as my second wife. Being single for so long can really wear a woman down." The room buzzed with the whispers. "Just so you know, with everyone here as witnesses, suing me would be pointless," Zoe continued. Mysil shrieked, recording. "From the start, did you suspect us? This proves you don't trust us, even though we're family." "Trust?" Zoe stared coldly at Mysil. "There was never any trust to begin with. I've seen it ever since I was a child. After my father passed away, you bullied my mother every time you met her, criticizing her for her age, her unemployment. It's obvious that I would record someone like you. If you want to talk about trust, first consider if you're trustworthy." Zoe's gaze was icy and detached. Then a voice called out, "Sit across from Zoe and Brooklyn. Let the young folks stick together," they said, pushing aside a young couple who had been sitting opposite us. "Even though it's a fancy hotel, there's a buffet because of the large number of guests. Well, as you might have guessed, our son Isaac was involved in the preparations. That's how we found out about this. It's a bit rude not to invite us, don't you think?" my sister-in-law said with a smirk. "Well, it's a gathering for college students. But Brooklyn was invited, right?" my sister-in-law interrupted Zoe. Continuing, Mysil said, "You should have consulted us. Sure, it's about Zoe, but it must be hard for Brooklyn to afford coming to a place like this, right?" "I'm sorry, Brooklyn, it must be tough, especially with Isaac booking such a fancy restaurant," my brother-in-law chimed in. "Yay, as family, we should help out relatives who are struggling." Saying that, he took out 10 $100 bills from his wallet, and then scattered them across the table. The paper bills, worth $1,000 in total, fluttered and scattered across the table. "Pick it up, you broke duo." Mysil laughed boisterously. Her loud laughter seemed to have caught the attention of the college students at the party. The atmosphere gradually became tense. Amidst this, the mocking voice continued, unaware of the awkward atmosphere. Honestly, when I look at you two, you don't seem like mother and daughter at all. Delayed childbearing. It's almost like you're a grandma with her grandchild. Poor Zoe, I really pity her, Mysil remarked. After my brother-in-law passed away, Brooklyn closed his real estate business, and she hasn't left the house since. She probably aged more because of that. It's sad for Zoe. At this rate, she'll be caring for her elderly mother scattered across the table. Pick it up, you broke duo. Mysil laughed boisterously. Her loud laughter seemed to have caught the attention of the college students at the party. The atmosphere gradually became tense. Amidst this, the mocking voice continued, unaware of the awkward atmosphere. Honestly, when I look at you two, you don't seem like mother and daughter at all. Delayed childbearing. It's almost like you're a grandma with her grandchild. Poor Zoe, I really pity her, Mysil remarked. After my brother-in-law passed away, Brooklyn closed his real estate business, and she hasn't left the house since. She probably aged more because of that. It's sad for Zoe. At this rate, she'll be caring for her elderly mother soon. Though. How about after she graduates, I'll take Zoe as my second wife. Being single for so long can really wear a woman down. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ga. Stop it. I have 3 kids, but Brooklyn had her only daughter at such an old age, right? A child with those genes will definitely be a grandchild. Poor Zoe, I really pity her, Mysil remarked. After my brother-in-law passed away, Brooklyn closed his real estate business, and she hasn't left the house since. She probably aged more because of that. It's sad for Zoe. At this rate, she'll be caring for her elderly mother soon. Though. How about after she graduates, I'll take Zoe as my second wife. Being single for so long can really wear a woman taking out the $1,000 she had scattered. Come on, pick it up already. Really pitiful, isn't it, having an unemployed, elderly mother? I feel bad for Zoe. Are you planning to run away to another country, Zoe? I'd understand. Here, take this as a going-away present, Mysil taunted. The room was completely silent. Zoe was visibly shaken. Seeming to enjoy the attention, Mysil pushed further. Why aren't you picking it up, though? Is it not enough money? You need more, right, to support your unemployed mother, including the care she'll need. Mysil then threw 5 more $100 bills. But this time, unemployed, elderly mother. I feel bad for Zoe. Are you planning to run away to another country, Zoe? Us were silent too. Then, unexpectedly, thank you, Auntie. Splash. The. Mysil screamed. As a token of my gratitude. Drink up, it's a fine Lafite Rothschild wine. The red liquid covered Mysil's face and drenched her dress. Zoe had splashed her glass of wine onto her. The entire room gasped. Oh, what have you done? This dress was XP. You shouldn't fret over the cleaning bill, especially being so wealthy. Zoe cut her off, smirking. You didn't think I'd fight back? Or are you thinking of suing me for spilling wine on you? If so, I'll counter-sue for the verbal abuse you've subjected me to. Zoe tapped on her nearby phone, words like fleeing the country. Then, she looked at me. Just because my mother had me when she was older, and she was a single mother doesn't mean anything. Because she was older, she cherished me even more. No matter what, she always told me she loved me and held me tight. She ran faster than anyone in the parents' race during the school's track and field day, so no one would say she's too old. Even when she lost her husband, she was the first to tell me she loved me. She would say, "You don't have to try so hard, I will do my best for you." Even when it was hardest for her, she always put me first. At her words, I felt tears welling up in my eyes. A child showing appreciation for the things a parent does and would consider the norm. Could anything be more heartwarming? However, Zoe's emotions seemed to peak, and she shouted, "Hey! You might mock late childbearing, but can you guys even come close to what my mom has done? Don't pity us without knowing anything about our lives. Zoe." I patted Zoe's shoulder. "Calm down. And thank you." Zoe seemed to realize her outburst. She took a deep breath and spoke in a calm tone. And then she said to me, "It's fine now. Tell them why you came." Right, with Zoe speaking up for me. It was my turn. I exhaled. I would have brought this up on another day. But given the circumstances, it was inevitable. I called the waiter over. "Could you get the manager for me? Tell him Brooklyn is asking for him." The waiter widened his eyes and responded, "Yes, ma'am," before hurrying off. A few minutes later, a tall man appeared. His imposing aura made it evident he was the manager of this grand hotel, even without an introduction. The manager approached me and bowed. "Thank you for choosing our hotel's restaurant today. My name is Adams." To the manager, I said one thing. "We would like to support you." The manager exhaled in relief, saying, "Thank you very much." Mysil and her husband gaped at this. Ignoring them, I continued speaking to the manager. "I've done with the inspection. The staff's manners, the cleanliness of the corridors, and even the parking lot lines were painted carefully. The fire alarms were up to date. Your attention to detail makes this worth investing in. Thank you." Having support from someone like Mrs. Brooklyn is a huge boost to our hotel. We are proud to have been chosen. However, I continued, "These two are banned from this hotel for as long as it stands." What? Taken aback, Mysil and her husband looked shocked. "We'll have a short talk. When I signal, please escort them out." The manager nodded. "When you wish them to leave, please let one of them." She loved me and held me tight. She ran faster than anyone in the parents' race during the school's track and field day, so no one would say she's too old. Even when she lost her husband, she was the first to tell me she loved me. She would say, "You don't have to try." Burst. She took a deep breath and spoke in a calm tone. And then she said to me, "It's fine now. Tell them why you came." Right, with Zoe speaking up for me. It was my turn. I exhaled. I would have brought this up on another day. But given the circumstances, it was inevitable. I called the waiter over. "Could you get the manager for me? Tell him Brooklyn is asking for him." The waiter widened his eyes and responded, "Yes, ma'am," before hurrying off. A few minutes later, a tall man appeared. His imposing aura made it evident he was the manager of this grand hotel, even without an introduction. The manager approached me and bowed. "Thank you for choosing our hotel's restaurant today. My name is Adams." To the manager, I said one thing. "We would like to support you." For me. "Tell him Brooklyn is asking for him." The waiter widened his eyes and responded, "Yes, ma'am," before hurrying off. A few minutes later, a tall man appeared. His imposing aura made it evident he was the manager of this grand hotel, even without an introduction. The manager approached me and bowed. "Thank you for choosing our hotel's restaurant today. My name is..." "Yes, ma'am," before hurrying off. A few minutes later, a tall man appeared. "My name is Zoe Harris. I'm 27 years old. I married Jack 5 years ago. We don't have children yet, but we were living a relatively happy life, just like any ordinary couple. However, one day, everything changed when I discovered Jack's affair." "Hey, who's this Camila? When did you start cheating?" The name and message that popped up on his phone while he was away. It was unmistakably from someone he was having an affair with. Unable to stay silent about it, I confronted Jack when he returned, wondering how he would try to explain himself. But his response was something I never expected. "Yeah, I was cheating." "So what? Are you being defiant?" "It's not about being defiant. I'm just stating the truth." "What else did you expect me to say? Did you think I'd grovel and beg for your forgiveness?" "Hada." "What?" Jack admitted to his affair without a hint of remorse, and then he started to provoke me further. "You seemed all high and mighty, questioning me. I cheated because I despise that part of you." "What? You're always nagging, telling me to do this or that. Who'd want to come home to a wife like that? That's because you..." "See, you're immediately blaming me again. I'm fed up with that. Unlike you, Camila always puts me first. And guess what? She's a nurse. Seems like she earns a good amount too. Plus, she said she wants to move in with my mom as soon as we get married, in case anything happens to her." "Oh, how considerate. She's even younger than you by 3 years but so much more capable." Totally unlike you, who said it'd be better not to live with my mom when we got married, and you couldn't even get along with her after all this time. Do you think there's any reason for my mom and me to keep living with you? It's not that I didn't want to live with my Mill. My Mill had been living alone since she lost her husband early on. Jack wanted to live with her because he was worried about leaving her alone. But my Mill was still in her late 40s at the time. I told Jack that it would be better for her to live freely on her own, for her own sake. Apparently, that was considered heartless by him. Eventually, we ended up living with my Mill, though. Sorry for making us live together. I heard from Jack that you didn't want to live with me. No, it's not like that. No need to make excuses. I never liked you from the start. Let's just stay out of each other's way. It turned out Jack had spoken to my Mill, and she had disliked me from the start of our living together. I chose the wrong person to marry. If I had married Camila from the beginning, none of this would have happened. What did you say? Because it's true, isn't it? So far, there's not a single thing about you that's better than Camila. Plus, you can't get pregnant after 5 years. Back in the day, you'd have been sent back to your parents' house in no time. That's what Jack said to me. Hearing those words, I couldn't hold back any longer and handed him the divorce form I had prepared. If that's how you feel, let's get a divorce. I see no point in staying with someone who says such things to me. I had actually noticed Jack's affair some time ago. And then Jack said, "Haha, what? You had this prepared. If you wanted a divorce, you should have just said so from the start instead of beating around the bush about cheating and all. You knew I was cheating, right? And yet, you do this. Were you expecting me to beg and hold back on this? I'll never do such a thing. If you want a divorce, I'll sign the form right now." Jack said that and signed the divorce form without any hesitation. Make sure to file it at the city hall without delay this time. Following Jack's words, I submitted the divorce form to the city hall the next day. And after the divorce, I had to move out of the house. However, as I was preparing to leave, my Mill told me, "Doe, you're still here. Didn't you get a divorce? Are you waiting for him to beg you not to leave? If so, that's futile. He doesn't care about you anymore, not even a little bit. Why don't you just leave?" Then Jack joined in. "That's right, this place isn't your home anymore. Just get out." Really? To think you'd make a fuss over a single affair. It seems you weren't much of a wife after all. Exactly. But Camila is different, so look forward to it next time. Yes, the next wife seems to be a kind nurse who thinks of me. I'm so glad you divorced this person. My Mill, affirming her son's affair and belittling me. That's right, I too am glad that we got divorced. What did you say? Don't worry. I'll be gone today for sure. Just bear with me a little longer, the moving company will arrive soon. You. While we were having this conversation, the moving company I had hired arrived at the house. They started entering the house one after another to move my belongings out. This will finally refresh the place. We should have done this much earlier. The two of them muttered as they watched the movers. However, they were about to realize a huge misunderstanding. Wait a minute. Why are you taking this sofa too? That's ours. It's not hers to take. Leave it here. No, this is per the request of the client, so we will be taking it. What? Hey, wait. This is serious, Mom. They're even taking the fridge and washing machine. What's going on here? How should I know? I'm just as clueless. Furniture and appliances they hadn't expected to be moved out were being carried out one after another, to no avail, and the house was quickly emptied of almost everything. And finally, "Then, thank you for everything." I said those words to the two of them and got into my car parked in front of the apartment. What's this all about? Jack was dumbfounded. Hey. What have you done? What do you mean? We're divorced, so I'm leaving the house. Didn't you say to get out as soon as possible? Not that. Why are furniture and appliances that aren't yours being moved out, and even the car? Are you trying to take them as some sort of alimony? No, that's not it. Then why on earth is this happening? To the two of them in a complete panic, I explained. Because all those pieces of furniture, appliances, and this car were all bought by me before we got married. They are mine, so of course, I'm taking them with me. What? In fact, most of the furniture and appliances were things I had purchased when I was single. The same went for the car. It was my beloved car that I had saved up for and bought before getting married. I wasn't told about this. Well, of course. Jack told me not to say anything to you. He's been pretending like he bought all the furniture, appliances, and even the car, not wanting you to know that it was actually his wife who bought them. Maybe he wanted to impress you by acting as if he had bought everything himself. Jack, is what she's saying true? You told me you bought everything yourself. Well, why would you lie about something like that? So, I'll be taking all my belongings with me. If you need anything, you'll have to buy it yourselves. Then Jack, who had been quiet until now, suddenly remembered something and blurted out, "What about property division?" Huh. Couples getting divorced are supposed to divide their property, right? That means we should be splitting everything, the furniture, appliances, and even the car. It's not something you can just take by yourself. Is that true? If that's the case, what Zoe is saying is nonsense. We need to tell the movers to bring back the furniture and appliances right away. There's no need for that. Why the heck not? Do you even know what marital property is? It refers to property acquired through the efforts of both spouses during the marriage. Meaning, furniture, appliances, and cars I bought with my own money before we got married don't count towards division of property. That's a lie. If you can't believe it, why don't you look it up on that phone you're holding so dearly? Jack must have found it hard to believe my words. He immediately started searching for information on division of property. But what he found was exactly as I had said. Seeing that, the two of them stood there, unable to say anything. Besides, we had agreed before getting married that we wouldn't divide our property in case of divorce. Don't you remember the marital property agreement? Huh. You were the one who suggested we make a marital property agreement because you didn't want any trouble in case of a divorce. No. Before we got married. Thinking about divorce before even getting married. It's just in case. It's like insurance, right? You plan ahead so you're not caught off guard when something like an illness or injury happens. It's the same thing. Convinced by his words, we filed a marital property agreement application at the Legal Affairs Bureau. I found out later, but marital property agreements are usually made by people with significant assets or those remarrying with children. At that time, you had landed a better job than me and didn't want me to take any of your earnings, which is why you suggested making the agreement. Well, now the tables have turned and I earn more. But it worked out for me. Thanks to you suggesting we make a marital property agreement, I didn't lose any of my assets. Thanks, haha. Hearing this, my Mill, who had been listening in, turned pale and asked me, "Wait a minute, the tables have turned. You earn more. Why do you keep implying my son has no money? He landed a job at a major corporation." "Oh, he quit just before we got married." "What?" "He said something about not liking his boss or whatever, but in reality, he caused a significant loss at his workplace and got fired." "What did you say?" "It's not like that, Mom. Just hear me out. So, I talked to my boss, and now he works at the factory of the major corporation where I'm employed. That's why I, working at the headquarters, have a higher salary." No. Exactly. His salary was taken to cover the damages he caused. He couldn't afford to replace any of the new furniture or appliances. Predictably, he started trembling and said, "After all this mocking, I won't accept it." "Excuse me. What was that?" "I won't accept this. I'll go to the city hall, the tax office, anywhere. I'll change that absurd agreement right now. It's the Legal Affairs Bureau, not the city hall or tax office. But even if you go there, you can't change the agreement. That can't be true. You really don't remember, do you? They told us back then that once you're married, you can't change the agreement for any reason." "No way. So, no matter how much you cry or scream, this fact won't change. Not being able to change it once decided, that's just fraud. You must not have explained it properly. If you think it's fraud, why don't you go and consult with the Legal Affairs Bureau? Though I doubt they'll overturn it." The two of them were holding their heads in frustration at my words. I added insult to injury by saying, "Oh right, there's something else I need to mention. I've already cancelled the lease here, so you'll need to move out in a few days." Then, Mill was shocked. What are you talking about? I was told that he was renting the apartment. Doe, that's a lie too. This was my apartment, which I had leased when I was single. The plan was for us to pool our money together and move into a new place. But after he got fired, he canceled his own apartment and moved into this one that I had leased under the guise of us living together. And it just dragged on to this point. In the end, you, unaware of everything, ended up living with the three of us. Could it be that you were told to keep quiet about this too? That's right. He wanted to protect his pride that much, it seems. Why didn't you tell me something so important? I mean, I can't believe it. As all the lies were unveiled, the two of them started arguing. While they were at it, I said, well, that's how it is, so I'll leave the rest to you. Thank you for everything up till now, and started my car. In the rearview mirror, I could see the two of them shouting something at me, but it was no longer any of my concern. However, the story didn't end there. A few hours after I left that house, I received a call from him, "Help me. Please. I'm in a terrible situation." I never imagined it would come to this. He was panicking as he spoke, but I knew why he was contacting me. What? Did you find out she's not really a nurse? Or did your lies get exposed and she abandoned you? How? How did you know? Because it's obvious to investigate the other person when you're getting divorced due to your husband's affair. And then I easily found out she was lying to you. What? The truth behind him contacting me was this. It's fine, we have Camila. It's a bit sooner than planned, but we can just stay at Camila's place. She's a nurse, so she can take care of us both, right? She was also eager to get married soon, so it'll surely work out. Yay, we should contact her then. Hello, it's me. This is Sutton, but can I come over now? Huh. Sure, but what's up? I've had a bit of trouble with my ex-wife. What? So I have to leave my house. It's just me and my mom. Can we stay with you? After being left with nothing by me, including a place to live, they apparently contacted his affair partner right away. What are you talking about? Of course, that's impossible. Why not? You're a nurse and you live in a nice place. You have several rooms, right? So it should be fine if I come. I'm going to say this now, I'm not a nurse or anything. Just a part-time worker. And my place is tiny, not big enough to accommodate two people. What? You lied to me. Why would you lie about that? Because I thought that was the only way to get your attention since you worked at a major corporation. If I said I was a part-time worker, you wouldn't be interested in me, right? But, so, staying at my place is out of the question. You work at a major corporation, so you can afford a hotel or rent a new place, right? And, if it was just your wife leaving, I'd get it, but why do you have to leave? That doesn't make sense from the start. If you're going to blame someone, explain that first. And then he had no choice but to reveal everything, that he works at a factory of a major corporation, that all the furniture, appliances, and even the car were taken by his ex-wife, and that they had to leave because the lease was in his ex-wife's name and she had cancelled it. Then, she was furious. What do you mean? Who's deceiving who? You're the bigger liar here. Hey, just calm down. How can I calm down? Our relationship is over. Find someone else to rely on if you need help. Bye. Wait, hold on. Hey. Camila. After that, he couldn't get in touch with her anymore. Left with no one to turn to, he ended up contacting me for help. Please, Zoe. Can't we start over? It was all my fault. From now on, I'll take the initiative in doing household chores, and I'll listen to everything you say. So please come back to me. Plus, in this situation, it's not just me, but my mom is involved too. If we don't find a place to go, Realizing I was the only one he could turn to, he put on a remarkable display of flip-flopping. My mill behind him did the same. Zoe, I truly apologize for everything until now. I didn't realize how important you were. I'm willing to apologize as well. So, let's live together again, the three of us, okay? I'll even help out with the household chores. Don't hold a grudge forever, just accept our apology. She started to persuade me. However, my decision hadn't changed. Live together. No way, what are you talking about? I have nothing to do with you guys anymore. Who would go back to you? What? Hey, Zoe, what did you just say? Didn't you hear? I'll say it as many times as needed. I will never go back to you. This is the result of your own decisions, isn't it? After saying all that, and now that things didn't turn out as you expected, enough with taking me for granted. Then, so you get all high and mighty when I humble myself. You've got some nerve. Where are you now? I'm coming over, so tell me where you are. Apparently, being outright rejected by me must have really hurt his pride. He yelled at me like that. But this time too, I had the upper hand. If I tell you the location, will you come? Yay, I'll come right now. And make you apologize on your knees. Admit that everything you said and did was wrong, and beg me to live with you again. Really? Well, then come right now. I'm at my parents' house. No. You're at your parents' house. That's right. Are you coming? Well, no. What's the matter? Lost your nerve. Weren't you going to make me apologize? My whole family is waiting, so hurry up. Turns out, he's terribly afraid of my dad. Because my dad is a strict police officer. He hates anything wrong or nonsensical. On the opposite end, Jack always been carefree and irresponsible. Your dad is very strict, isn't he? No, he is not. I mean, if I ever cheated, I might as well be dead. Well, that might be true. I'll pray that doesn't happen, haha. He told me so after we got engaged and visited my parents to introduce him. So hearing that I was at my parents' house must have scared him. Actually, I think I'll pass on coming directly. It would be a nuisance if I just showed up suddenly. It's fine. Everything has been explained already. They probably want to hear more about it from you. You've already talked about it. Of course. It's natural for them to ask why their daughter suddenly came back home, isn't it? So I just told them everything without hiding anything. So, what will you do? Are you coming or not? Well, no. But it was already too late. You said you'd come, didn't you? Come to our house right now. We'll have a long talk when you get here. I'm sorry. My dad, who had been listening to our conversation the whole time, snatched the phone from me and shouted that at him. Now he had no choice but to come to our house. If he didn't, he'd face even worse consequences. About 30 minutes after that call, Jack and my ex-male arrived at our house looking incredibly pale. I know Zoe has told you a lot, but there's a reason for everything. A reason. I didn't cheat because I wanted to. Zoe works at the headquarters, and even though we work for the same company, my salary is honestly lower because I work at the factory. I've always been ridiculed by my coworkers because of that. When I came home, she would snap at me, and then I ended up getting involved with another woman who would listen to me. Coming to my parents' house, he tried to justify himself to my father, claiming he wasn't at fault. Furthermore, I've always observed the interactions between the two of you while living together. It seemed to me that Zoe's words and actions were somewhat problematic. Of course, I think my son who cheated is at fault, but this time, it seems that Zoe is also to blame. So could we perhaps agree to both sides being at fault and call it even? My ex-male joined in, trying to end things by blaming both sides. What are you saying? Listening quietly to such a conversation, my dad then said to them, so, where exactly was my daughter at fault in this story? As I said, her sharp words towards me. Let's change the question then. What exactly did my daughter say to you? She said things like help out with the household chores instead of just sitting around, or how about you take out the trash for once, as if I was doing nothing at all. Haga, are you serious right now? You think that's being sharp? Are you a middle school kid? Or were you just joking around? What? Furthermore, the fact that you took my daughter's slightly admonishing words as sarcasm shows that you felt inferior comparing yourself to your wife who earns more. That's not my daughter's fault, nor is it a reason for cheating. Gulp. Let's just calm down a bit. Calm down. Don't be ridiculous. We trusted Jack with our precious daughter, and not only did he cheat, but he also drove her out of the house. And now, after being dumped by his affair partner, he tries to flip the script and come back. That's just ludicrous. We have no intention of forgiving you guys for what you've done. My dad was furious, his face turning red. My mom felt the same way. She didn't say anything, but her anger was palpable. Seeing my parents' reactions, he said, I'm terribly sorry. But like my dad, I wasn't about to forgive such a superficial apology either. I handed him the compensation claim documents that I had prepared in advance by a lawyer. Compensation claim. What? You thought you didn't have to pay? Cheating while married, of course, you have to pay compensation. No. He was astonished by the amount of the claim. He sought a reduction, claiming he couldn't afford such an amount, but under the stern gaze of my father watching nearby, he reluctantly accepted to make the payment. Subsequently, I sent the same compensation claim notice to his affair partner, Camila. I was deceived too. I dated him because he said he worked for a major corporation. I had no idea he was just a factory worker. I'm the victim here. So I shouldn't have to pay compensation. She refused to pay, claiming to be deceived. Of course, such excuses were not accepted, and eventually, both of them ended up paying the alimony as I wished. Have they been paying the compensation properly since then? Yay, your shouting must have really scared them because they paid up much sooner than I expected. That's good to hear. But who would have thought it would come to this? I never imagined such an ending when I got married. Well, surely that taught those two a lesson. But I wonder what they plan to do now, after being kicked out of the apartment you leased. Yay, from what I've heard through the grapevine. After that, they had nowhere to go, and ended up asking distant relatives for help. But, what are you doing here? I can't give the details, but, could we stay at your place for a little while? Relatives should help each other out in times of trouble, right? We need to support each other, haha. Stay at our place. Help each other in times of trouble. Don't make me laugh. After all the trouble you've caused us, you have the nerve to say that. As it turned out, these two had previously insulted relatives and acted selfishly, leading to them being cut off. Yet, despite this, they had the audacity to show up at relatives' doors, asking for help because they were family. Naturally, the relatives refused their request and turned them away. According to what I've heard through the grapevine, the two of them somehow managed to start living together in a rundown apartment they managed to lease. This mess we're in is all because of you, Mom. Why is it my fault? It's because you always disliked Zoe and treated her poorly. That's why she left. Don't blame me. The direct cause was created by you. You were the one deceived by your affair partner. You're the worst of all. What? The two of them ended up blaming each other, resulting in the worst relationship. As for me, I rented a new place and am enjoying living alone comfortably. If asked whether my life turned out as expected, I'd say no, but I'm very satisfied with this outcome.